Hello again, it's Elizabeth, and I'm over here in my art loft, and I'm ready to line the box that I made for my secret garden book. This is my secret garden book, and I showed you that in a previous video, and I decided to make a box for it, and this is the beginning that I did in the last video, and the book fits in there very nicely, but if I just let go of it, it has a tilt to it. So if I put a lid on that, a normal lid on that, then when you opened it, it's not very appealing. So I decided that I would put a little ramp in there, in essence, and it would hold the book up then. Oh, come on now. It's not going to want to do this. Let me get that this way. So the ramp would be in there, and that would hold the book up. And then below the ramp, you could have a secret compartment, which would be kind of fun for a secret book, don't you think? Anyway, so today we're going to line this box, and I know I haven't done the cover yet, but that probably will be in the third video. But we're going to line the box, and if we have time, we're going to go ahead and make the ramp as well. The ramp, as I call it, consists of two pieces, one that actually fits exactly or almost exactly in the bottom of the box, and the other one is how far it will be held up on the side. I'm going to hinge those together, which I have to get my hinges for in a moment, but we're going to put those aside for right now, and we're going to concentrate on the box itself. So I have made for the box, well, for the ramp, I have two pieces to cover the ramp. Actually, I'll need a third piece, but I don't have it right here yet. So if we get to that, I will probably be going to cut another piece of my marbled paper. I have, for the box itself, I have two pieces, which I've drawn on the back of. I do that sometimes and sometimes not. These will go one at the head and one at the foot of the box. And then the other piece will go down into the box to cover the rest of the sides, to line the box. So let's get started with that. To get started with that, the first thing I'll do is to trim these corners. Now I could do straight across, but I'd rather do just a little bit here and then a little bit here, so that when it goes down in there, it's going to have full coverage on that corner. If you don't get full coverage on your corner, there are a few tricks you can do to fix that, but we'll worry about that if we don't. So we trim out this little bit here. We'll go ahead and fit, you won't want that in there. We'll go ahead and fold these lines that I've drawn. Oh yes, and we want to trim off just a tad here as well, because that will be in behind the other piece of paper. Get that out of there. And here again, this side as well. Do it over here so I don't have to pick it out of the box. Okay, so this one is going to go at the bottom of the box. It's going to fit in there just like that. So I'll put glue all over it and then put it down in there. Okay. And then this one, which I accidentally put a different line on it, and I got rid of that line because if I did that, then this would be upside down to the other. Well, anyway, it wouldn't flow with the. This is actually the foot of the box. You can see how the marble flows through there, whereas if I did it this way, it would not flow. Okay, so that's why I did that. Get over there out of the way, you. Okay, and we're trimming out these corners. But that doesn't matter that I wrote on that, because nobody's going to see that. It's going to be on the glued part. Nobody's going to pull the glue off of it, I'm sure. And we need to trim these. Yeah, I got a little extra piece of paper there. And trim these parts off just a tiny bit too. And fold these down. And it's easiest if you do the pre-fold, even though when the paper is put in, it might stretch just a little bit, and you might have to refold it. But if you don't do the pre-fold, then it really is difficult to get it in there without making a mess. So that's how we're going to put that in there. And it fits rather nicely. And then we'll be pushing that down to make sure that it fits, you know, up against the corners. Okay, so we need a little bit of glue, and we always use our newsprint, leftover newsprint, to do our gluing on so that we don't make a mess on our table. Again, I'm using Yes Paste, and Yes Paste comes in a container like this. You can get it in a quart size, and this is a 2-pound size, and you can get it in a 1-pound size as well, which would be half this size. I know that's available at like Dick Blick and places like that. Maybe it probably available on Amazon. I got mine at a local art store here in Louisville. You know, I'm not sure if it's available at Michael's and Hobby Lobby and things like that, but probably it is. So I have mixed it with a little bit of water so that I get a nice creamy consistency. And I just leave my brush in there because I'm lazy and don't want to clean it. So I just leave it in there. And it makes a gooey mess on the stem of the brush, but that's okay. I have a wet paper towel here with me. So I'm just going to glue this up by gluing the whole thing. And we need just a teeny bit more. We try not to let it twist as we do it, because sometimes it can twist and get part of it into the glue, and we don't want that. You want to make sure your top edge here is totally glued, because otherwise it's not going to get up against the edge properly. Okay, where did my wet? Oh, there's my wet one. Okay. And you could use, of course, baby wipes for your wet things. And I've got a little extra glue on this side, so I'm going to get that off of there too. Okay, wet one, sit there. Okay, let's remove our newsprint out of the way. And now we're going to try to get this in without getting glue on anything but the back of the paper here. So we're pushing that down into the corner. And I kind of need to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to hold that up so you can see too, hopefully. So I'm pushing this down into the corner here, and into these corners, and then along this edge. And when I push it along that edge, I'm taking my slightly damp, and I mean just barely slightly damp, paper towel, and I'm going to go along that edge, so if any glue seeps out as I do, then I will catch it with a paper towel. Okay, so that is pushed down there, and now I'm taking a piece of the cardboard that I used to make the box, and I'm pushing it into that corner. See, I'm pushing that into that corner so that my paper is totally in that corner. You could use a bone folder, but most bone folders aren't totally square on the edge, so that's why I use this. And then I like slide it along there, and then do the same thing at this edge. Push that into there, and then up from there. Okay, so that has gone in perfectly. That is not always the case, and sometimes you have to struggle with it and say some, well, you might say some words. I never do, I'm sure. But anyway, so now we have to do the other end. Make sure that's down. Make sure it's down along the edge. Make sure that all of this is in and securely down, because if it has a bubble in behind it now, it's just going to make it that much harder to put the rest of it in. Okay, so that looks pretty good, right? And we do have a little bit, I can feel just a tiny bit of stickiness right there. So I'm just going to wipe that a little bit with my ever so damp, verily not damp paper towel. Okay, that looks pretty good so far. So the next one, and where was my next piece of, oh, it's right here, hiding on me. Okay, a new piece of newsprint, because that one's all gooey. Put that one over here so it's not in my way. Okay, same thing, glue all over it, and don't get up close against that box. Move the box over a little bit. A little bit more glue, and I mean just a little bit, because we only have a little bit more to And if it starts scooting, like it just did there, I move it to a new place on the newsprint so that it doesn't scoot into the glue. Evil thing, quit scooting. Make sure you've got glue under where you were holding it with your finger and all along that edge. Okay, so that looks lovely. So again, I have to wipe my gluey finger off, get the gluey paper out of the way, and kind of curl this as I put it into the box to make it go down against this edge like it's supposed to. And since I had it pre-bent, then it's gone nicely into that edge there, and nicely into that. Oops, gotta go that way just a smidge. Yep, go that way. I'm gonna wipe my fingers again, getting a little bit of glue on them. And the Yes paste is nice because you can move it around just a little bit after you have it first put down, and you want to make sure that your edge along here is pretty even. And there we have our glue there, and down in there like that. I feel some glue on there now, so I'm going to get my slightly damp cloth, which needs a little more dampening, with my squirter thing here. Okay, just a tiny bit of glue there. Just wipe it out, and you don't want to wipe your paper too much, because if you go scrubbing on your paper, you're going to disintegrate it and it'll start pilling on you, and that's not nice. Okay, again, I use my piece of cardboard to get into those corners really nicely and get them really square inside there, and roll it along the bottom here, along that, and along the side to make sure that's in there securely, and that one as well. Okay, so far so good. Looks lovely. And my edges look lovely. I have about the same width from one edge to the other. Okay, so now we have the hard part, which isn't that hard, but a little bit maybe. Okay, so this time we are going to put this piece of paper down into the box, and we're going to have it all glued up at once, which is the hard part, having it all glued up at once. And you can see when it goes down in there, it's going to match with the edges of these so that we have like one continuous piece across. And we're going to have it go this direction so that the waves go up the side of the box, start down here and just go up. Okay, see what I mean there? So when we take this piece of paper and we put glue on it, put it in there, it's going to just match everything and look so pretty, we hope. Okay, move that out of the way because it's a little bit bigger glue up job. I'm going to take this part that had the glue on it and just turn that over on itself so that it's not gooey. And of course I got a ridge in it. There, we'll get the ridge out. And we'll turn it over like this, and then we can put the whole thing on here. Okay, so the easiest thing to do is to go around the edges first, and you'll go around the edges last as well. But just make sure that when you're doing this, you have your glue nice consistency, of course, and you want to make sure that you spread it out and not leave lumps of glue, because lumps of glue are not nice. They'll make nasty little bubbles for you. It won't look as pretty as if you have it all nicely evenly spread out. Now we do not want you to move. I don't want my paper to move as I'm putting this on. So I'm going to go as much as I can from this direction while I'm holding the ungooey piece of paper, and then I'll come back the other direction on this edge. Because when I'm holding on here, where it's already had the glue on it, it's slightly slick from the glue, and it makes it easier to slip and end up with the edge of this touching the glue, and then it's nasty. Just a teensy bit more. I think I've got it there. And then I wipe out my fingerprints as much as possible so that I don't have parts where it's not gluey because I had a fingerprint there. Okay, I think we've successfully done that. We'll move our piece of paper out of the way, cover that over so that it's not, well, let it be gluey. Bring our box back in, set it down, make sure we've got our paper with the right direction, wipe off our fingers again. And then we're going to kind of curl this into the box where we've got this edge, which we've already put a fold in. So we'll put that right into the fold there. And we're going to have to scoot it over there a little bit more. Okay, so scoot without tearing. Nobody tear, nobody do anything bad. And then we want our edges to come up here even. So we might have to scoot it just a tad more. There we go. Now then we want to straighten this out here. What I'm looking at is the edge here to make sure that this is even across here and hits my corners evenly. And then we want to push this side down so that it fits in here as well. And we did get a little glue on our outside of our box, and I hate that, but it's the way it goes sometimes. Okay, and then that side should go right to there, and that side should go right to there. And I'm making sure that's down in there. And I do have a piece, this little piece that's the slope that I'm going to use on the box when I put my slopey part in. Put that through there to make sure it's down evenly there. Make sure that corner's there. Again, I'm using this like a bone folder, only it's a piece of box, of course. And it works really well to make sure it goes down in there and all the way to there. And this actually fits in the box, so it goes nicely across there, and I can give it a kind of, I get a feel of it. There's a little bit of gooey there. Okay, that's gone. Need a little more water to wipe my fingers totally glue-free. And then I'll feel in it and make sure all of the glue is gone. Yep, that looks good. That feels good. Okay, that looks really nice. Okay, all my corners look good. Make sure this edge is down, and we can go over it with our slightly damp paper towel. Paper towels I use are Bounty paper towels, and no, I have not been paid anything by them, but I swear by Bounty paper towels because they do not leave lint. And a lot of your cheaper towels, like, well, I'm not going to name any names, but there are a lot of them that do leave lint, and then they're not good for art projects. Okay. Okay, that looks really nice, if I do say so myself. Okay, so then the next thing to do, got a little bit of glue there. I don't like to leave any feel of glue on the paper, because if you happen to get damp in your box for some reason, like you live in a humid climate or something, then it could get on your book if it had some glue that was left there. Okay, that feels good. Make all my edges straight. Okay, that's glue. And everybody feels good there. Everybody feels good there. Good. Okay, so I think we have a successful, and that went together a lot easier than a lot of them that I've done. But now we need to cover our little ramp that's going to be in there. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to put glue all over this, and then put it down on this, and this is like you would do for a book cover. You just put glue all over your board. And then when you stick it down to your paper, then you have to bevel the corners so that it will go together nicely. And there we go. And then the other side. And I know I just put my thumb in the glue, but it's all right. We won't have glue on the outside of our paper, and that's what counts. Just a tad more. Now, as you, if you have a piece of board that you're covering with glue, you'll notice that when you put it on the paper that it will warp. And that's because of the moisture of the glue. Actually, as it seeps into it, it expands your paper and your board also as well. And it warps toward the side that doesn't have the wet on it. And we'll get that right in that center of that area that I had there. Okay, make sure it's all down. Turn it over. Trying to get my hands ungluey again. That's the hardest part sometimes. Okay, so then we're going to make sure this is down. And it is, beautifully. No bubbles. Lovely, isn't it? Okay, so then we will get a piece of newsprint. We will cut our 5 corners. And when we cut our corners this time, we're going to cut them as we would if we were... Behave. Things quit falling around on my desk. Okay, cut them as we're going to cut them about 1/8 of an inch away from the corner, and just a 45-degree angle. And if you don't get it 45 degrees, it's not going to really matter. I didn't on that one. But 1/8 of an inch away, and the reason for the 1/8 of an inch away is that you're going to bend up these these edges, and you want that to cover that corner there. If you cut it even with it, then you're going to have things that will show that corner. So that's why you do the 45 degrees and the 1/8 of an inch away from the corner. So here we go with this. You can put it on the edge of the thing, it doesn't matter. And my wet paper towel. Can't do this without it. Okay, we're going to flip this up, and it's going to come here. And then it probably will have a little extra there. I think I had a little extra glue on that. A little extra more than I needed. And it probably will come up like that. And your corner, you want to take your thumbnail or your bone folder and fold that in like that so that you've got it covered, got the whole corner covered. And then make sure your paper is down on the corner. Have that folded in like that. See how that is? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our thumbnail and just fold it in like that. If you push down toward the board with your fingernail, you get a little extra glue out too, but it covers that corner, that actual corner itself. And you can see when this covers, and that actually would help if I scooted that over a little. Oh well, it's going to cover it. Just barely in that case. I got that one close, didn't I? Okay, the other end now. I usually do both ends and then I do the sides. And I have a little extra glue here. I'm going to wipe up with this piece of paper and toss it. Maybe. Okay. Same thing on the other end. Don't need that much glue on my brush, but I had it, so I have to wipe off some of it off here. Back in there. I'm going to wipe off some of that to start with so that I don't have so much in the way. And then fold that up and over. Clean my thumb. Make sure your edge is nice and crispy there. And when I made this to go down in the box, I made it about 1/8 of an inch shorter, because even though you don't really think about it, your paper has width, and when you have covered both edges, this edge and this edge, you've added a teeny tiny bit, not 1/8, but a teeny tiny bit to that width of that board, and if you don't account for that and you make the board exactly fit down inside your box, it is not going to fit after you've covered it with paper. So you want to keep that in mind. Okay, so I've got that nicely done. Make sure these are down. And now I do the long sides. Is there glue there? There is a bit of glue there, darn it. Now, where's a piece of paper I can use? Of course, I never have any when I want it. Let's feel if it's got, yep, it's got a little bit of glue on here. I'm gonna have to clean that off. Beautiful. Okay, now for the long sides. Same thing, only this time, of course, you don't have to do your corners because they're already ready to close up. Make sure you get your glue in the corner, though. Okay, and we fold that over, and sometimes I get my glue paper out of the way and just fold that on the table so that it gets a nice crease on it. And see how pretty that is on that corner? Look at that. It's gorgeous. And I round those corners by just running my thumbnail over them. Make sure that's down there. And wipe off any excess glue, which I have a little bit. Okay. And we're ready for the next edge. And we'll get our glue paper back again. I know some people use like telephone books and magazines and other things for their glue paper, and that works just fine. You can do that. Okay, so same thing, glue, make sure it's in the corner. All the way down, make sure it's in this corner. And then we're ready to do it. Move our glue paper out of the way. And then just put it against the board and fold it. And that gives you a nice crisp edge there. And it's slightly warping, but when we put our paper on the other side, because we're going to cover this side too, because you'll be able to see it when you lift that secret compartment, then it will warp back and be even, because it'll warp this way and warp that way, and then there will be no warp. And again, I use my thumbnail, just push my thumbnail against it slightly so that it rounds it out and it's not a really sharp corner there. And I just like to do that. That's one of the things that I do on all the boxes and books I make, so that we don't have sharp corners. And I've got a little bit of glue that isn't supposed to be there, so I'll get rid of that, because I can feel it slightly on that corner and slightly along that edge. And this glue comes off really nicely with the water. And now we have a beautiful board that's going to go in our box. Let's make sure I have no glue on my table, and then we'll make sure that this is all down and stuck down properly. Beautifully. And there we have that. Okay, so now the other piece of our slope that we're putting in there is this piece over here. And I drew on this piece of marbled paper all the appropriate lines that it's going to have, so I can go ahead and cut that ahead of time, and then I'm just going to glue it all at once and not have to do the edges separately. So I'll cut those 1/8 of an inch, at least 1/8 of an inch away. Don't get the end of it in the glue pot. And then sometimes I save these little things and sometimes I just toss them. I know if you're a junk journaler, you're supposed to save everything, but that's the way it works. Okay, let's get our paper back again. Oh, we have an extra one. We'll fold that over like that so we have a clean spot to put our paper on. And we're just going to put the glue on the paper this time. You can put it on the board if you like, but the paper will work fine since it's not such a big piece. It's maybe easier sometimes. And since we're doing the edges and everything at the same time. Got a little extra there, so we'll get rid of that. Put that back in the glue pot, pick that up. Get rid of that and put our slope on here. And we put that down, and remember we do our ends first, so we want that down evenly. And it keeps trying to slide with me. That's all right. Make sure he's down evenly. Wipe off your glue fingers. A little more water. And we'll fold this one up. And we'll fold this one up. Come on, you. Again, we do the same thing with the corners here. And we want a little bit of glue on those corners, so we'll just go ahead and do that with our fingers. Because I had glue on my fingers, so I put it in that. And then we'll fold that over just like we did before. Fold this to the edge and around. And then we'll fold this side, the edge, and around. Now we don't need to cover the other side of this because it won't be seen, because it will be glued up against the inside of the box. We do need to have it glued though. Okay, glue along there. Looks lovely. Nice and even. So the idea is that we are going to hinge this piece. And let's make sure our table's clean before we do any more there. To this piece, and then when it's in the box, it will be sitting like this with the hinge there. And when you want to look under it, you will flip it up like this. Okay, so that's the idea. And we have to first put our I have to get another piece of paper for this side, but we need to put our hinge on there first. Let me see how much time we are at, and then we'll do that maybe the next time. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, perfect. Okay, well, I'll see you the next time.